Hi there. Today we're going to be having a look at the Excel question from the 2018 Matric Supplementary paper. If you look at your web page, you will find that there are 2 source files, 3 cost and 4 Dublin, as well as the question paper in Word and PDF format. I'm going to be using the question paper open on the sidebar on the right hand side of the screen as we work through this thing. Please download these files and extract them in an appropriate folder as I have done here. Right, let's have a look at the first question. If you have a look at the question paper, you'll see we're going to work in the 3 cost spreadsheet and in the spending worksheet. There are 2 worksheets, spending and green. We're going to be working in spending. So the first question, center the data in A1 vertically. So here's A1. A1 has already been If you need to, please make sure you enable editing before you start working and enable content if necessary. The first question is center the data in A1 vertically. Cell A1 stretches across this entire range because it has already been merged. So there are 2 ways to do this. The quick way is to use the link on the top. There we go, centered vertically. If you want to do this the long way around, then you can go to the alignment tab and choose center vertically there. Right, question 3.2. Change the page setup as follows. Change the left margin to 2 centimeters. Change the worksheet horizontally, center the worksheet horizontally on the page, and repeat row 2 at the top of every page. So we're going to go to page layout and choose margins, custom margins. Make that a 2 centimeter left margin. Then we need to center the worksheet horizontally on the page. So there we go. It's also in that same dialog. And we want to repeat row 2 at the top of each page. So that's under the sheet tab. You will see there rows to repeat at the top. We can select the first 2, which includes the headings. Okay. There's no visible difference about the page layout. You can see that if you go to print preview. So there it will show you the larger print preview. Right. Column A contains an identification code for each participant, where the first participant's identification will be STP1. That is as seen over here, STP1, STP2. Use a spreadsheet feature to continue the identification numbering in column A so that every participation will have an identification code, and it's only 1 mark, so they're not looking for a complicated formula. When you select these 2 cells, you'll notice this little green square at the bottom right hand corner. That's our autofill handle. We can select that and drag down to the bottom of our spreadsheet. There we go. And you'll notice it is numbered for us all the way up to 100. That little autofill can be quite useful. It will, as in this case, do numbering for you, but it can also do days of the week, months of the year, and so on. The Rand-dollar exchange rate, number of rands that buy $1 for December 2017 is indicated in cell I1. That's cell I1 there. The value provided in column G is in dollars. Insert a formula in H3 to determine the Rand value of the items purchased. So we're going to multiply the value in dollars by the value in Rand. And this must go in cell H3. So equals this value multiplied by that value. Notice the little extra though. Ensure that the correct answers will be displayed if the formula is copied to the rest of the sheet. As things stand, if I drag that down, it will not work. That is because you need to have an absolute value, an absolute cell reference. And I do that by adding a dollar symbol in front of the part of the cell reference that is going to be changing. As I drag down, the cell reference will increase. I1, I2, I3, I4. Inserting the dollar symbol in front of the number will prevent that changing. So now if I were to drag that down, it does not change. Delete that one. And then the last thing is ensure that the amount in H3 is in South African currency. So we're going to have to format this. It's already formatted as currency. We're going to have to format the number series so it displays in South African currency. R is nicely at the top of the list. It is the default setting, or should be, on your computers. Insert a function in I4 to display the word green only if a participant celebrated the day by wearing green clothes and spent money on accessories. So we're going to be looking at column D and column E. Otherwise nothing should be displayed. And this will be in I4. If you have a look at the data in column D, you'll see that people who are wearing green are flagged as wear green. And if you have a look at the data in column E, you'll find that what they've spent is flagged as accessories or decorations or snacks. So I can construct an if statement that will look at these two columns. Equals if. There are a number of ways I can do this. I can nest two if statements together, or I can use the AND function, and D equals where green, and my computer is set to use a decimal comma, which means that the separator character between the fields and the parameters in these functions is a semicolon. So where green, and the second option is E4 equals accessories. Okay, that completes the AND. Now, what must I do if it matches? We're going to display the word green. Green. Otherwise, nothing should be displayed, which means I'm going to display an empty set of instructions. And enter. To test if this will work, we can take the full control, and you see as we go down, where green accessories, it matched. Where green accessories, it matched. And it works. 3.6, insert a function in cell M3, that's there, just off the page, to calculate the average amount spent in column G by the participants. So we're going to be looking at the whole of column G. Equals average, and we want from cell G3 down to cell G102. G3 colon G102. There we go. The amount displays in dollars. On to the next page. Insert a function in cell M4 to determine the total amount spent in column G by the participants on snacks. So we now need to add just those ones which spent something on snacks. That will be a sum if. Equals sum if. Don't forget the if. And we'll see first we're going to look at the range which we're going to be looking at for our criteria. So that is column E, and it'll be E3 to E102, E3 colon E102. My criteria in this case is snacks, so snacks. Separator again, and now the sum range. Again, I'm looking at column G, so G3 to G102. There we go. And again, the amount displays in dollars. A function was inserted in cell M5 in an attempt to calculate the number of participants who attended a party, a private party, or a party in a bar on St. Patrick's Day. So the function does not give the correct answer, so we must correct this function. And we have here COUNTIF D3 to D102, and they're looking for the word party. We are counting, and COUNTIF is the correct function because we are going to be trying to count things that have the word party in it. But as it stands here, it's looking for the literal word party, and we don't have the literal word party. We have either a private party or a party in a bar. And you'll see here, attend private party, attend party in bar. So we need to insert the wildcard character, but I can't just insert it at the beginning. The one says attend private party, and the other is attend party at bar or restaurant. At the beginning, I will only find those that match words or options ending in party. You can see at the moment I've got here, if I change this to attend private and fix my spelling, private party, there are still 20. So inserting a wildcard at the beginning only matches those that end in party. I will also have to insert the wildcard at the end to match the ones which attend party with something else after the text. And there we go. We have 39 in total. Last one for question 3. Copy all the information of participants who brought products online to celebrate St. Patrick's Day to the green worksheet. Do not delete any data from the spending worksheet. The easiest way to do this is to sort the data and then just select those we need. But there are other options. The second, almost as easy way, is to select across your titles, go to data and filter. Now I can choose the set I want to show. I want to show just those who bought things online. So I can choose from this lot only online. There we go. And I can copy all the information. So we copy everything. I'll include the headings, green, and there we go. And we get just those that we filtered out. And then I can remove the filter if I want to. If I was going to sort it, because they don't specify how you're going to do this, then easiest is to start at the bottom. And scroll up to the top. We can include the header rows if we want. Sort. I have a header. Sort by, and I want mostly bought at. There we go. And now it's sorted, and I can choose the range that was sorted online. When you're sorting, if you use that option, make sure you select the entire worksheet, not just that one column. Otherwise, the column data no longer matches up and your data becomes corrupt. Okay, that ends question 3. Make sure you save this before you close. On to question 4. And for question 4, again, enable editing if you have to. We're going to open the 4 Dublin spreadsheet as I've just done, and we're going to work in the list worksheet. So here we are, list. We've also got summary and codes. We're going to start with list. Enable content. Insert a formula in E3, marked green, to calculate the number of days Miriam Paterno spent in Dublin for the St. Patrick's Day celebrations. So we're going to take the day she left and subtract the day she arrived. Equals D3 minus C3. And you'll notice that this has already been formatted number. Under some circumstances, they might not format it as number. Let me undo and make this general. And do the same, equals that cell minus C3. And this time round it has picked up correctly. Sometimes it leaves the information in date format. And then you have to choose number to ensure that it displays correctly. The two letters in an email address which indicate the country from which an email originated, commonly known as the domain extension, appear in the codes worksheet down here. Use the country in column G and insert an appropriate lookup function in cell H. So we're going to go to here is our country, and we're going to insert an appropriate lookup function in cell H there to determine the domain extension for Korea. So equals VLOOKUP. If the data in codes was arranged horizontally with the country codes above, or the country names rather, above the country codes, then we'd have to use HLOOKUP. So we're going to go to codes. The first thing is the value we're going to look up, Korea, from codes, and you select the entire range of your data. Semicolon. The country code is in column 2, and you'll notice we have the options after that. Default is approximate match. This would actually work in this instance because the data looks like it is formatted alphabetically, so I could leave that with its default and it should work. But if data was not in alphabetical order, then I would have had to specify false, an exact match. It doesn't matter in this case whether we use an exact match or not, we're going to get the same result because the data is sorted. But if it's not sorted, it becomes important. Last thing though, this isn't part of the question, but it is implied in a VLOOKUP statement. If I were to drag this down, you'll notice that after a while I start to get errors. And that is because I'm not using absolute cell references for my lookup range. My lookup range on the codes sheet moves down as I drag down. To prevent that happening and ensure that the VLOOKUP formula will still work, I need to insert absolute cell references in the formula. It is distinctly possible that this will still be expected of you, even though it is only entered in one cell. Modify the formula in cell I5 to create a lowercase email address for Lucian Bradford. That is this one here. And you'll see we have the concatenate function with 2 empty fields followed by the @stp.co dot, so something else is expected. The first letter of her name in column B. We're going to be using the first letter of Lucian, followed by the text as provided, and followed by the domain from column H. If you're using one of the newer versions of Office, by newer I mean Office 2019 or Office 365, then the concatenate function no longer works and you'll have to use concat instead. I'm using the 2016 version, so I'll leave it as concatenate. Right. To be able to determine the first letter of her name, it's on the left hand side of the name, so we're going to use the left function. It will be cell B5, and I only want one character. In addition to this, we're going to add the last 4 letters of her surname. So let's add right from her surname, which is in cell A5, and we want the last 4 digits. This so far is going to provide us with a name as follows, but you'll notice there's a capital L because of the capital L in the name. And there's a chance that if this was used with a short surname, such as Ross or Kane or Kemp, that we would have a capital in the first letter of the surname as well. So we're going to have to add the lower function around the left letter, and we'll also have to add lower around the surname as well to ensure that this would copy correctly. So we now have lowercase letters. It would have been nice to put the lower function around both the left and the right set, but then I would have had to concatenate those two operations together first before including them in the lower function. Right, last, I need to add this country code, so we're going to add one more cell. There we go. Now, if you have the option of choosing whether to use concatenate or not, then another way you could have done this same function is, instead of using the concatenate function, I could have used an ampersand character between each of the fields. Ampersand, and another one, and another one, and I would have had the same result, whatever the country code was. Okay, undo those. Right, we're going to the summary worksheet now. In the summary worksheet, the function to determine the total number of visitors from all the cities appears in cell C1. And that is this one, sum B2 to B21, and it adds these cells together. Change the function in cell C1 to display true if the total number of visitors to all the cities in A2 to B21 is the same as the number displayed in the list worksheet. So in list, you'll see we just have the number of visitors. We're going to have to count all the visitors in this sheet and then see if they match this particular figure. So we check to see whether the sum is equal to count A, because we are counting an alphanumeric set of data from this table, which ends on cell 102 and starts on row 3. So from summary A3 to A102. The summary exclamation mark is important here. It tells it to look this up on the wrong sheet at the moment. It's looking in summary. We want it to look in list. So make sure that that reads list. Exclamation mark, that tells it to take from the list worksheet. And there we are. Just to test, change this one to 3, and now it is false. So don't be confused by the two different equal signs. We've got one equal sign, the first one that tells Excel this is a formula. The second one is a Boolean operation. It is true if the value on the left-hand side and the value on the right-hand side are the same, and false if the value on the left-hand side and the right-hand side are different. In the same way, we could have, instead of equals, used a greater than sign or a less than sign if that was called for. Okay. The total number of visitors for each country is displayed in cells A23 to A43, so that is down on the worksheet. Here we go, A23 to E43. I assume that that means B43. Some of the countries had their totals repeated, so UK, I see, has it several times. Use a spreadsheet feature to remove all the extra entries. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean that we need to delete the data. As I say, use a spreadsheet function, we can hide the duplicate values. If you select this range and you go to data, you'll see that in addition to the filter that we used in question 3, we have an advanced filter. And the advanced filter includes the option, apart from adding criteria, which we're not going to do in this case, to say unique records only, and that will display only those records that are unique. Right, question 4.6, the last question in this sheet. Change the USA cities represented graph to appear as follows. So here is USA cities represented, which includes several cities which are not from the USA. So to begin, we right click on our data. We're going to modify the data area, select data, and you'll see that one of the options we have is the option to select which cities display. We don't need to do this automatically. It's not many marks, so there's no fancy formula you need, and they tell you which cities to display. We need Chicago, then New York, so make sure we untick those that are not Chicago and New York. There we go. And then we need Washington down at the bottom of the list. Right. I seem to have missed a couple, and Cape Town has migrated into the United States, as has Glasgow, as has Seoul. There we go. I skipped the question, changed the chart graph to the one shown in the example above. At the moment we have a column graph, but we can right click and choose change chart type, choose bar, and we're wanting the one with the gaps. There we go. Change the gap width between the data sets to 40%. So select our data sets, format the data series, and we can choose 40 for the gap width. And while we're here, choose a chart feature to vary the colors by city. We can choose fill, and you'll notice that we have here vary colors by point, and we're not told what colors to use. This will probably print similar to what's displayed on the screen. Last question. Display the data labels with any dashed line border. So make sure that you have all of these data points selected, not just the one. There we go. And we can go to design, add a data element, data labels, more design options. You'll see now we have all three showing. We go to fill and line, and we're going to add a solid line. Yes, I know they said a gradient, but it's still a solid line. We can now add a dash type, and you'll notice at the moment there's a very light gray color selected, so it might not show very well. Just so that you can see it, let's add a nice big dark black border, and there we are. Data labels with a dashed border. And that's it. I really hope that you didn't have too much trouble with that one. See you again next time. Bye for now.